Welcome back everyone to my channel. My name's Colby and we are going to be continuing on with our PowerApp, the Accessorize app that we're building. Last time what we did was we were building out the filters pane on the left here, and we were able to filter out in the gallery for different things that we're searching for, different products. So today we're actually going to continue and build out our favorites list, the cart item, as well as the info page. So to get started, we're actually going to create new screens. So in the previous sections, we actually built out this cart screen already, which is just a blank page right now. And the next two screens we're going to build out. So you're going to go to new screen blank. And we're going to double click and we're going to rename this screen info page. And so this is going to be when you go ahead in the gallery and you actually click on an item in here, it's going to take you to this info page to provide you a bit more information about the product. And then the next thing we're going to build out, let's say new screen again, we're going to call that our favorites. So our favorites are just when you go ahead and you click on this this heart over here, it's going to show you your favorites that you'll actually click on. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is for each of these buttons, we actually need to link these buttons to be able to take them to these various pages. So the first one we want to link is this favorites. So in the properties drop down over here, you're going to go ahead and click on select. Right now it's set to false. We want to actually change that. So we're going to use the navigate function, and we're going to actually navigate to the favorites. It'll actually provide you some context on like different types of options, and we select favorites, and then we need to close the brackets and hit return. And now if we run that in preview, if I click on that, it'll take me to my favorites page, and it's blank right now, so it probably doesn't look like your favorites page, but if you close out a preview, you'll actually see that you've selected the favorites page. Okay, and then we are going to just make sure we'll do that for the cart as well. So I click on cart, on select is false. I'm gonna navigate to our cart. Okay, so those are good. And the next thing what we're going to do is we added a button overlay to the gallery. So what we want to do is make that, when we select it, it's going to take us to the info page. So on select, there's actually two things I want to do. I'm just going to delete this. So the first thing I want to do is I want to store the item that we're selecting in a collection so that I can grab that item when I'm on the info page. So I'm going to use this clear collect. Remember, clear collect just clears if the collection exists, it clears it and adds the item that we need. So I'm going to call this my let's call it our product. You can name it whatever you want. Info collection. Okay? Product info collection. And what we're going to do, what are we going to store in there? We're going to store this item. So this particular item in the gallery, we're going to store it in that collection. Okay, so close brackets. And then you're going to do semicolon, and you're going to do, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to navigate. And we're navigating to the info page. Right. What did I call it? I called it the, yeah, I called it info page. Okay. All right. So that looks good. So now that we've got this all ready, what I want to do is for each of these pages, I actually want to have this top menu. so that it's cohesive and carries through to each page. And I also want to make sure, so right now on select for the home menu is false. I also want to make that navigate home. And for this particular page, because you're on home, it's not going to go anywhere. It'll stay on the page. But the reason we want to do that is when I copy and paste this across different pages, it'll carry that on select with it. All right, so if I remember, we created a group with the menu. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that group. So just hit the 3 buttons, copy. Oops, just make sure I copy that. And then in here, you're actually going to paste it. And it'll paste right in the same area. And I'm going to paste it here as well as in here. So now we've got that on both pages. And you'll notice it does rename it. So if you try rename it to menu bar, it won't allow you because that name already exists. So we'll just keep this _1, 2, and 3. Leave it as is. So I'm just going to do is I'm just going to save this. All right. So the first thing I want to build is I want to build out my info page. And so for the info page, this is where when you go ahead and click on, as I mentioned before, you go ahead and click on the item, it's going to provide you more information. So there's a few things I want to show on my info page. The first is I want to show the image of that item. So I'm going to throw an image in here. And you can make it, you can design this however you want. And we're going to do it as a image position fit, okay? Now, the image that we want to add to this is, remember we created in the home menu, we created this product info collection. So I actually want to take that, get the first item in that collection, because there's only going to be one item that we ever add, and show it. So I'm basically going to say first, and then do the collection name, so the product info collection, so that gets the first item, and I'm going to say .image. Okay, and that'll give me the image of the item. Right now it's blank because there's nothing added in there, but if we go ahead and preview this and I click on the black mug, for instance, you'll notice it added the black mug to the collection, and now it's showing it. And you'll notice that all my buttons work now as well. Okay, so going back here, go to the product info page. I'm going to add some other things, such as let's add a label. And so for this label, we want to add the product name. So again, first, paste. I just copied and pasted the collection name just so I don't need to type it in again. And in this case, we want the name of said product. Okay. So you'll notice it's now showing me the product because I already clicked on a product. So you might want to do that for the first time just so you've got some product in there and you can see some real data to play with. The next thing we want to do is we want to add a drop down. And what this drop down is going to be, it's going to be the amount of items that you want to add to cart. So you can add that wherever you want. Let's just add it here, kind of in the center. And we don't need it that big, right? And then I'm going to have a button as well. And the button is going to be our add to cart button. And I'm going to just rename it to add to cart. Right. So that's looking pretty good. It's not allowing me to deselect the button. Okay, there you go. Okay, maybe let's make this a little bigger. And let's bold the text just so it pops out a little. Obviously what we also need to do is add a price, right? Because the user needs to know how much they're paying for this item. I'm going to search label. And so again, first dot price. Now you'll notice when I add that, we don't have that dollar amount. So to do that, you can use the text function. And then we basically state that we want it to look like something like that, okay? So you'll notice it now appends the dollar amount to this number. Let's make this a little bigger so it pops out. And let's make it semi-bold. Okay, so this is starting to look good. What we could also do is, I'm gonna copy this guy, and I want to also add the brand. So, oops. Let's add the brand, and I don't want it to be that big, so let's just make it 16. And let's make it semi-bold. Oops. Alright, so that's starting to look good. What I want to do on the far right side here is I want to add the reviews into this section. So I'm going to add a text label. And I'm going to call this reviews, just to kind of give it a header. And let's give it size 16, bold. All right. And let's change the color as well to the blue that we're using. Okay. Next thing I want to do is my reviews are stored in an Excel spreadsheet, so I want to add a vertical gallery. So I go ahead and add this vertical gallery in. And I'm just going to expand it just so it fits nicely. And what we're going to do is we're going to connect. You'll see in the gallery properties, I'm going to connect this to my reviews spreadsheet. Okay, so you can already see it's starting to populate, just like the gallery does. But there's a few things that we don't need. For one, I don't need this image. There's no images for my reviews. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to delete, because these have conditions set off this image, I'm going to delete these as well just to make it easier for myself. And I'm going to delete the chevron because we don't need anyone to click on a review. It's just going to showcase the review. All right, so we've added that. Now what I want to do is grab some labels to throw in here. And grab another label. And yeah, let's just do that. So we've got 2 labels right now. And I'm going to expand this. This is the actual review. This is the reviewer. And we can actually see what we have, what types of, so we've got, these are the different properties of the reviews. So we've got a review, a reviewer, product ID, rating, and then the review ID. So I'm just going to keep this as reviewer. And then what I want to do is add my rating. the rating, the default rating is going to be this item dot rating. Okay. And let's make it blue. Okay, cool. Okay, and a good thing to kind of look, I'm just going to look to see, these are all my reviews. I'm just going to scroll down to see that everything kind of fits okay and looks decent. You'll notice PowerApps actually supports emojis, so in this case people have emojis, some critical reviews, and some good reviews. Now, what we need to do is we need to filter these reviews down by the actual collection here. So right now it's actually showing all reviews, but we want to show it for this particular item, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this gallery, and I'm going to rename it just so we know what it is. So I'm just going to call it review gallery. So let's make it reviews because there's multiple. And then I'm going to select the items area, and I'm going to use a filter, and I'm going to filter the reviews by for the product ID, where the product ID equals, remember it's my first item, and that collection was called my product info. I'm just going to copy that. Equals that dot ID. Okay, so basically what we're doing is each of these reviews references the ID of each product that it pertains to. So I'm trying to see if the ID of the product needs to match the product ID for it to show. And so it actually filters that out. So now these reviews actually pertain to the black mug and not some other item. Okay, so we're looking pretty good. Next thing I want to do is for this add to cart item, I actually want to add this item to a collection and then take me to my cart. Or sorry, not take me to my cart, but just add the item to my cart. Okay. So on select, what we're going to do is we're going to do a collection. I'm going to call this collection cart list. And in that collection, I am going to add a few things to the collection. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a ID. And so I want this ID to be, oops, sorry, let's go back to my unselect. I want this ID to only pertain to this item, like it needs to be unique. It needs to be a unique ID. So to make it unique, I'm actually going to grab the time, which is now method, and I'm going to say how I would like it to look. So I want it to look like month, month, day, day, year, year, year. And then I want to grab the hour, minutes, and seconds. Okay. And I'm going to concatenate that with my first product info collection. And I'm going to grab the dot name. And then I'm going to get text. And I'm going to do I want to grab this amount here for this drop down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this drop down amount. And so in here, I'm going to get the drop down amount dot selected, so whatever value they've selected, so the amount they've selected, dot value. Okay, and sorry, this is selected, and then I'm going to close that. Okay, comma. Next thing I want to do is I want to add the name. So to get the name, I'm just going to copy this. Say I'm getting the first item dot name. I want to get the amount. First item dot amount. Or sorry, price, I should say. Right? And then, oh, sorry, my apologies. When I say amount, we actually want the amount selected, right? So it's DD amount, which is not showing up here. I forgot a comma at the end here. So DD amount dot selected dot value, comma. Then I want to add my price. I'm going to do dot price, comma. What other things we want? We'd like the brand that we've stored, and then we also want the image. Brand. Just going to drag this down a bit, just to give us more room. Image. Okay, so that looks pretty good. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to close my curly brackets and close that. And so that's going to create that collection for my cart. And then I'm going to create a variable called reset DD amount. And what that's going to do is it's actually going to reset, after I add an item to cart, it's going to reset that value in my dropdown. Else, if someone selects 5 and you come back to the item, it'll still have 5, right? So I'm going to do update context. I'm going to call this reset DD amount true. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to navigate to my main page, to home, I called it, right, home. Okay, so once someone adds something to cart, it actually shoots me home. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is add some amount to this drop-down list. Right now there's a drop-down sample, so it gives you 1, 2, and 3, but we need to actually add some amounts. We're going to allow up to 10 items to select. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a collection. So on visible, meaning when this page is visible, it's going to create a collection, which we will call just drop-down amount. Keep it simple. And we're going to add integers all the way up to 10. Okay, so hit return. Then I'm going to select this guy, and I'm going to change this to drop down amount. At first it'll show blank. Reason being is we need to refresh this page. So to quickly do that, you can just go to home and then click and go back to it. And now you'll see you've got the amounts. Awesome, looking good. Another thing I can show you is if I selected 5, I added to cart, it takes me home. And then if I go back there again, you'll notice it hasn't refreshed. And the reason it hasn't done that, because if I go into reset, reset here. We want to name that reset DDML. Okay, so let's try that again. So you select 7 items, add to cart, go back, reset. Okay, so that's looking good. So we've got our product info page pretty much done. Looking pretty good. Obviously you can change the look and feel of it, but basics, it looks good. So the next thing we want to do is now build out our cart. So we've got our cart page. Now we want to add the collection that we're building, right? So if you go back to the info page, in that add to cart, we created this cart list. So I want to show that cart list. So to do that, you go to your cart page, add a gallery, vertical gallery. And I'm just going to add it like this. And I'm going to delete all these items in here just to make it a little easier. And you'll notice it allows you to, sometimes this will pop up. If it doesn't, you can just go to the data source, but you'll notice my cart list over here. So if I click that, there are 2 items in here, but because I don't have any, haven't added any labels, it won't show them. So if I drag in a label, it'll start pre-populating. So the first thing I want to do is I want to add a label there, and I'm also going to add an image of the item in my cart. So remember I added 2 of the black mugs, so that's why they're both showing black mugs here. And then I want to add, so we can keep the brand there, and I'm going to Control-C, Control-V this just to save time. And this is going to be my name of my item. Name. Okay, maybe we want to make it bold so it pops out. Brand can stay like that. Alright, so we're looking pretty good. And then the next thing I want to do is I want to add a drop down that allows me to see the amount, and then if I want to quickly change it on the fly in the cart here, I can. That's quite a nice little. So for the items, we want to show the drop down amount, right? That collection we created with the 10 items to select. And then for the default value, we're going to change that. So we actually want the default value not to be the first item in the list, but to be the actual amount selected for this particular item. So we get the text, and we're going to go this item dot amount, and you'll notice that updates. So there's 5 there, 7 there. The last thing I want to do is I want to add an icon, and I want to add the ability for the user to remove this from the cart if they decide, oh, I don't want to buy that anymore, I want to delete it. So if you go in the drop down for icon, you'll see there's a trash, and so we're going to add that in here. Maybe let's make it a little smaller, it looks a little big. So that looks pretty good. Okay, and then what we need to do now is remove this item from the collection, right? So we use the remove, and we want to remove it from the cart list, and then we just say this item. And I'll actually remove it from this list, and we can quickly test that out. So we run, and it gets removed. So pretty simple. Okay, so when you go ahead and change this amount in here, which is the property onChange, we are going to then update that item. So to do that, we use the update method. We type in the name of our cart list. Which item do we want? We want to update this item. And to update it, we actually need to type it all in again. So to just make things a little quicker, I'm going to go back to my info page, and you see this add to cart? I'm going to copy this just to make my life a little easier. And so I don't need to type this all in again. Select this, expand it, and then I'm going to paste this in. And instead of adding that guy, we're actually going to need to change this name here to ddamount2 and update this to ddamount2. Okay? And so now when you make that change, it'll update it in the cart. All right, so we're looking pretty good. One thing I want to add in here is I want to add a label. So when someone comes in here and the cart is empty, I want to have a label that says that. So it says, oops, looks like your cart is empty. Okay. And so we're going to center that one. Let's make it a bit bigger so it pops out. I don't like the black text, so I'm going to change that to gray just so it's not so like shooting out at you. Looks a little better. Okay, so that's good, but we want to change that so that it's only visible when there's nothing in the cart. And there's a quick way to do that. So if you go to the visible property, you can use a method called isEmpty. And this checks to see if the source is empty. So I can actually type in the cart list, and it'll check if it's empty. If it's empty, it'll show it. If it's not, it won't. So a quick way to test that, there's something in here. So if I remove this, boom, it's empty now. You'll notice when you're building it, these items will show in the view, but when you preview it, they disappear. So just be aware of that if you're like confused. Why do these show my cart's empty? That's just because this shows you, because you need to be able to modify and edit the first item in the collection. And then if you're previewing it and there's actually nothing in there, it won't show it. Okay. The last thing I want to do is I want to add maybe a label here that we just say, we call this my cart, just so they're aware that they're in their cart. You can change the sizing of that so it pops out a little more. And then I want to add 2 buttons. The first button is going to be able to clear my cart. So if I don't want to have any items in there, I can clear my cart. And the second button, actually instead of adding a second button, I will just copy this one and paste it. My second button is, this is going to be my order button. So I want everything in my cart. I'm going to go ahead and order it. And so center this guy a bit. Maybe we'll bring it down a little bit. Kind of make a little center there. Okay. While we're at it, I'm just going to save this so that we don't lose any of our work. Okay, so clear cart. On select, what clear cart is going to do is it's going to use the clear function and it's going to clear my cart list. Okay, so that just removes all the items from the collection. Perfect. The order one, basically all I want it to do is I want it to take it to this screen called order, which we actually haven't created yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new blank screen, which we probably won't work on today, but we'll work on in the next part. So this order. Okay, come back to cart, order, navigate to order. So we'll just do that for now. Navigate to a blank order screen. Good enough for now. Okay, so what I also want to do is I want to change this so that when the item is, when there's nothing in the list, I don't want these to be, I don't want anyone to be able to click on them, right? So I want to disable them. And so there's an easy way to do that. There's a property for buttons called display mode. And so the default for display mode is edit, meaning that you can click on it. What I want to do is have an if statement in here. If my collection is empty, so my cart list is empty, then I want it disabled. Otherwise, I want it to be in edit mode. Okay, so what I'm going to do is copy that, because I want to actually have that for both of these buttons. Return. Okay, so now you can see, if I preview this, I actually can't click on that. If I go home, click on that guy, let's say I want 5 of these, add to cart, go to my cart, you can see, if I say clear cart, removes it from cart, and yeah, everything's starting to come together. So it looks good. All right, next thing I want to do is I want to actually add, so for each of these buttons, I want the ability to click on these and make them add to my favorites list. Right now, if you click on them, we did configure in the previous sessions, we configured it so that the button works, that allows you to, it changes from the white heart to the red heart to kind of indicate that the item's been added to your favorites list, but we haven't on select. Oh, we actually did. Never mind. We're a bit of ahead of ourselves. So okay, so we're adding it already to the favorite list. What we need to do is show that in the favorite list. So if I go to my favorites and I add a gallery and I connect it to my favorite list, which there is nothing right now in there, but let's go back to our home page and maybe add some data in there just to make it easier for us to build out our favorite list. So if I go back to my favorite list, now you can see they're populating out. So what I want to do is I'm going to delete everything in here. Whoops, got too ahead of myself there. So just delete these items. And then I'm going to add back the image. I shouldn't have actually deleted that one image. I should have just kept it in there. Okay, so I add back my image. And I'm going to make this full page. Almost full page actually, because what I want to do is I want to add a label in here that just indicates to the user that you're in your favorites. So I'm going to call this favorites. Expand it. Center it. Let's center the text. Bold it. Let's increase the sizing. 24 looks good. And let's change the font color. Okay, it's looking pretty cool. Now what I want to do is I want to actually resize this guy. So I'm going to resize this. And I'm going to add, actually no, I'll keep that size. I want to add a few more columns in here. So I think I'm going to try 6. Okay, so 6 looks good. Add 6. I'm going to make this bigger. Fill it in. Okay. And I'm going to, there's a separator in here. I'm going to get rid of it because I don't want a separator in there. Okay, so it's starting to look good. The one more thing that I want to do in my favorites is add a on select. So if I go ahead and select one of these, I want it to take it to my view page, right? So to do that, I'm going to add a button like we did before. Add it in here. And I'm going to remove all this. Just make it a clear button essentially. And I'm just going to preview it. You can see it's got this hover effect. So I need to remove that. So sometimes preview is just a great way of like looking if you want to test something out quickly. Remove that property. Let's just make sure that the click, okay, so if I click, there's no property that's making it change color. So it's looking good. So now what I want to do is for on select, so when you go ahead and click this button, I want it to take you to your page for the info page for that item. So to do that, I'm going to add that item to my collection. So I'm going to do a clear collect because I'm going to clear anything that's already in that collection, and I'm going to add it to the product info collection, and I want to add this item, so the particular item that I clicked on, and then I want to navigate to my info page. All right, so looking pretty good. So now what I'm going to do is preview. We go home, and now we can start testing it out. So, okay, let's add, so I just added the white and gray mug. If we go to my favorites, I can see the white and gray mug there. If I click on this yellow mug, it takes me to the yellow mug page with its reviews. I can say, hey, let's get one of these guys. Add to cart. Go to my cart. Boom, it adds it in there. Oh, actually I want 7 of those. Great, should have updated. And to see if it updated, a quick and easy way is if you close out a preview, go to File, go to your Collections, go to your cart list, you'll see it updated the amount right here to 7. So this is a great, going to this view is a great way of visualizing your collections. So that's starting to look good. All right, so we're going to end it there. Next session, we will start building out our orders page as well as a order success page. And then there's a few little things to kind of touch up. One other little item is I want to add a little notification over the cart that tells you how many items are in your cart. And so every time you add, say you add 5 items to your cart, it'll highlight and say there's 5 items in your cart to just give that kind of nice little look to the app. So hopefully you've enjoyed this session and you've learned some new things. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down in the comments below, and yeah, like, comment, and subscribe, and look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thanks so much. Bye.